we're going to talk a little bit about the public perception of artificial intelligence because a new segment about AI on The Daily Show is getting a ton of buzz. And it's about what they call the false promises of AI. And it features Jon Stewart skewering AI leaders for saying AI will magically kind of make everything better, when in fact, in his opinion, there are clear signs that they are actually saying it will displace labor and reduce the number of jobs. So this segment, in true kind of Daily Show fashion, features, cherry picked clips from AI leaders like Mustafa Suleiman saying AI is a fundamentally labor replacing tool. And they interview a CEO who's been publicly bragging for quite some time about firing 90% of his support staff thanks to AI. And they also mix in some clips of politicians simply saying over the years, everyone will just have to retrain when technology takes their job. So the overall point here is that Stewart kind of is highlighting the contradiction from public AI leaders about both optimism from future productivity gains created by AI, and then how they kind of talk around what that actually means for jobs. Now, Stewart ends this segment by asking the question, after AI has taken over, what's left for the rest of us to do? So, Paul, this is just one recent example of some public backlash and apprehension around the impact of AI. And I know you had a lot of thoughts on this one. Could you walk us through how you view this?
Yeah, it's about 11-minute segment. I mean, it's worth watching. It is funny. It very much gives the perspective from the techno optimist slash EAC movement we've talked about. These people who like accelerate at all costs, no matter what, and we'll figure it all out. And we've been through transformation before, and it'll work out, and there will be jobs for everybody, and there'll be better jobs. Um, and again, like Mike and I very much like I would say, like, I'm in the let's keep going, like let's keep innovating, let's keep accelerating this. I think a lot of good is going to come from it, but I'm also of the camp, and I think Mike, you're probably similar, we should be thinking about the impact this is going to have on people. Like I am not ignorant to the disruption this could cause. Now, again, like I always laugh when people take these like really hardcore stances as though they can see into the future better than the best economists in the world who don't seem to know what's going to happen. And so you have all these people who are like, no, 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 it's going to be perfect. It's going to work out. Let's just keep going. And then you have other people who can, convinced that it's just going to be devastation and it's going to be horrible. And I'm kind of in the middle, like, I actually don't know what's going to happen. We shared the AI timeline. I think it was episode 87, where I was like trying to give my best projection of what I thought might occur for jobs and for the economy. And to recap that is like, I do think we're going to have job loss. Like, I don't know any other way around this, that there are going to be certain industries and professions, some it'll happen sooner than others. So like the technology industry, yeah, SaaS is going to keep seeing jobs. Like it's going to feel like it's happening right now, and it's happening fast in the SaaS world. Customer service, like likely in the next 12 to 18 months, it's going to feel really painful. Like that profession is going to rapidly change. I could see things like BDRs, like, sales. I could see things like junior associates at law firms. Like there are definitely roles that I think in the next 12 to 18 months, it's going to start changing really fast for. But when you zoom out at a macro level, I don't think we see massive disruption to jobs in the next 12 to 18 months, but that's just trying to kind of read the market and where we see the technology going, and what we're hearing from, researchers and entrepreneurs, like trying to make our best educated guess at what happens. But the thing that I find interesting about this Jon Stewart episode is I think this is an indication of what we can expect as more and more industries and professions start to be affected. This sort of, I wouldn't say this is necessarily like societal backlash. This is more commentary, and on a specific segment of people who have this very techno-optimist perspective. But I do think that as more people start to get impacted, you could start to get some backlash from the media and from society. And so I think that all of us who are, kind of more living AI day to day and probably have broader context around the depth of this story. Like for some people, again, they'll see a 60 Minutes episode and that is all they know about AI. And like they're convinced whatever they saw in 60 Minutes is the thing. Or they watch Jon Stewart and that's the first real interaction they have with AI. And they like think that that is all the truth. Well, all of us who, like you and I doing the show, people who listen to the show, we're thinking and hearing way more about this. And we have all this context to build our own points of view and perspectives on jobs and the impact on industries and things like that. And so I think you can step back and just be more realistic about what's actually going on. But yeah, so I just think it's interesting from a societal perspective of how we're going to start dealing with these layers of complexity as more people take an interest in the topic, more people in the media, more people in government. It's just gonna, again, it's gonna become there's gonna be more depth to the story to be considering and to be evaluating against like how different people look at it. I mean, you watched it too, Mike. Did you have any other thoughts on it or any opinions on it?
No, I really enjoyed the approach and the clip. I tend to agree with you. I think where we're really going to see this perspective continue to rear its head is as we see headlines of possible layoffs or disruptions due to AI. I have no idea what that will look like, but I could see there being quite a strong narrative eventually as we try to use AI as an explanation for all sorts of possible labor displacement that happens in the next several years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll address one other thing. So over the weekend, it came up this, a year and a half. I don't remember when I first used it, but I included in an intro to AI for marketers class I was teaching, I think was the first time I said it, that AI won't replace marketers, but marketers who use AI will replace marketers who don't. Actually, I think it was in the Piloting AI course series at the end of 2022. So I may have actually said this like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I see people like who don't like that quote, who like think it's just a load of crap. And I never really understood the reaction people have to it. But for context, like if you've heard this quote, and if it does, cause you to have an unfriendly reaction, I want to explain where it came from. So in 2017, so back in 2015, 16, there was this belief that radiologists were done, that AI was going to become superhuman at reading CAT scans, MRI scans, and that we just wouldn't need radiologists to do what they do. The machines would just take over. And so that was kind of like a growing belief. And then in 2017, Curtis Langlotz, I think is how you say his name, professor of radiology and biomedical informatics at Stanford University School of Medicine, said at an annual meeting of the Radiological Society of North America, radiologists who use AI will replace radiologists who don't. So his whole premise was the AI wasn't going to take over, but the tools were going to be so good, and the radiologists who use them were going to be so much more effective, so much more productive than the radiologists who didn't, that over time, you either used AI or you didn't. But if you weren't using it, you weren't going to have a job in radiology. It was going to become that critical to what people did. And so I looked out and I thought, wow, that's basically going to be true for every knowledge work profession. Writers, designers, engineers, product developers, whatever it was, salespeople, that the people who used AI would become so much more efficient at their jobs that when the time came for jobs to be impacted by AI, you were going to look around at your staff. You can be a staff of 10 or a staff of 10,000, and you were going to say, who are the most productive people on this team? Who are the most efficient people on this team? Who create the most value in the company? And my belief at the time was, well, it's obviously going to be the people who are better at AI. Like, if you become adept at using these tools and you get through kind of the fear and anxiety of AI and everything, and you say, like, I'm just going to figure out how to do them, and I'm going to become 10% more efficient or 30% more efficient or 70% more efficient, whatever it is, that when the time came, people are like, wow, we don't need as many humans doing accounting or law or marketing or graphic design or whatever it is. We don't need as many of these people around. These are the 10 best. Like, they're outperforming everybody by 30%. That's who we're keeping. That was the premise of the quote, that AI wouldn't replace marketers or writers or designers, but the people using AI would replace the ones who don't. I don't know how that's not still true. Like I see all of these people like complaining about this quote and saying it's ridiculous. Like, how is it ridiculous? Like I don't understand the logic of how it's not true. But what I have evolved to do is like I don't use it anymore in my talks and in my classes. And the reason is I don't know that it holds true over time.
Mm.
Like I do think that there comes a point with AI agents and like this evolution of intelligence explosion, like we talked about in episode 87, where maybe it actually does replace people too. Like maybe we just don't need that many people, and even the ones who are using it, there isn't going to be roles for them. I don't know. Like that is certainly a possible future. But at the moment, I still kind of believe that it's directionally true that the people who have the best chance to survive and thrive, if job loss comes to your industry or your company, will be the people who are most AI literate and are the most high performing people, which has always been true. So if you assume AI improves your performance and you can outperform your peers, then it is just a tool to make you more valuable in the company, which makes you safer when job loss happens. Like, and so again, if someone has a perspective that makes that false, I'd love to hear it. But just I've thought logically about this for like 2 years, and I've yet to find the fault in it, other than the people who just assume all jobs are going away and they're making like a leap 5 years out and saying, well, the AI is just going to take everybody's job. What are you talking about? It's like, okay, maybe, but I don't know that to be true yet. I don't know, Mike. Like, am I crazy? Like, do you have another perspective on this?
No,
You've heard
I
me
mean,
say this like a million times.
I've always struggled with some of the backlash against that type of quote too, because it seems pretty obvious. If you change the analogy to any other technology, if I said to you, hey, computers probably aren't going to replace people, but people using computers versus those who don't will probably be more economically valuable, that seems obvious to me.
Right. Like if you stay on the tool talk, it's like, okay, if you're a sales leader, but you refuse to use a CRM and you still want to live in your Excel, which
Right.
Mike, you and I,
Right.
I mean, going back to when we were at the agency, we were still in 2020
Yeah.
dealing with clients who had sales teams who refused to enter data into Salesforce, and they still managed it through CRM or a notepad.
Hmm.
And that's what I feel like this is. It's like, okay, there's no way those people keep their job. It's kind of the similar analogy of like, you have a new tool that makes you so much better at your job, and you refuse to use it. I'm sorry, I'm going to replace you with someone who's using the tools. That's basically all the quote is saying. So yeah, I'm sorry. Like, it's not, and it's not even like a hot button issue. Like, it bothers me that much. Like, I just kind of laugh at it. But again, I think it's pretty sound logic. Like, AI tools help you become a higher performer. And if a company is going to reduce job force because technology makes their workforce more efficient, it's pretty logical that the people who use the tools to be better performers keep their jobs over the people who don't.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Seems pretty obvious to me.